The ground shook again, and Owen Fletcher nearly dropped his scanner. These weren't the usual tremors from the mining equipment. Something heavier moved through the volcanic highlands tonight. He pressed himself against the rock face and waited for the rumbling to stop. When silence returned, Owen continued his survey of the cooling lava field. The eruption from 3 weeks ago had finally settled enough for him to check the monitoring equipment. His boots crunched over black glass formations that still radiated warmth through the soles. The night air smelled like sulfur and burnt stone. That's when he saw it wedged between two boulders. At first he thought it was just another rock, but rocks didn't have that particular texture. Owen crouched down and brushed away the ash. The surface underneath was smooth, almost like leather, with faint ridges running in a spiral pattern. An egg, a dragon egg. Owen had been on Terravine for 2 years and he'd learned the rules. Rule number 1 was simple. You don't touch dragon eggs. You don't even look at them too long. The dragons kept to their mountains and the humans kept to their settlements, and everyone stayed alive that way. But this egg was cold. Too cold. The crack running down its side leaked a clear fluid that had already dried into crystal formations. Whatever had been inside was probably dead. Owen picked up the egg anyway. It was smaller than the ones he'd seen in the colony information files, maybe half the size it should be. He turned it over in his hands and felt something shift inside. Not dead then. Not yet. He looked around the empty lava field. No dragon would leave an egg out here unless something had gone very wrong. The nearest nesting ground was 5 kilometers away up in the peaks. Maybe the eruption had scattered a clutch. Maybe this one had rolled away and the mother couldn't find it. Owen made a decision that would change everything. He tucked the egg inside his thermal jacket and headed back to his monitoring station. The station was small, just 3 rooms built into a natural cave system to protect from the harsh weather. Owen had lived alone here for 8 months, preferring the solitude to the crowded colony town. He placed the egg on his workbench under a heat lamp and watched it for any signs of movement. Nothing happened for an hour, then 2 hours. Owen checked his database for dragon biology information, but most of it was restricted. Humans and dragons had treaties, but not much actual knowledge sharing. He learned that dragon eggs needed constant warmth and that hatching could take months or happen in minutes depending on the subspecies. The egg rocked slightly at the 3-hour mark. Owen jumped up from his chair. A thin crack appeared along the top, spreading like a lightning bolt across the shell. More cracks followed. Pieces fell away and a tiny claw poked through. Owen held his breath. He'd seen videos of hatching before, but never in person. The dragons guarded their young fiercely, and humans were never invited to witness this moment. The creature that emerged was pitiful. It was the size of Owen's forearm, covered in translucent membrane and barely moving. Most dragon hatchlings came out roaring and snapping. This one just lay there trembling. Its scales were a deep amber color, almost copper in the light. One wing appeared smaller than the other. Owen grabbed a clean cloth and gently wiped away the membrane. The hatchling's eyes opened and fixed on him. They were gold with vertical pupils that expanded in the dim light. A weak chirping sound came from its throat. "Hey there," Owen whispered. "You're okay, you're safe now." He checked his database again and his stomach dropped when he found the entry on twin dragon births. Rare, often considered unlucky in dragon culture. Usually only the stronger twins survived. The weaker one was left behind to die naturally. This was that weaker twin. Owen looked at the tiny dragon struggling to lift its head. "So they left you behind. I know something about that." He spent the next hour researching what hatchlings needed: warmth, food, stimulation. He had some preserved meat in his cold storage that he cut into tiny pieces. The hatchling sniffed them but didn't eat. Owen tried soaking the meat in water to make it softer. On the 3rd attempt, the little dragon finally took a piece. "Good, that's good, small steps." By morning, the hatchling had eaten 6 pieces of meat and fallen asleep curled against Owen's arm. He named it Rin because the database said dragons didn't name their young until after the first year. If the hatchling survived that long, its family would choose a name. But this one didn't have a family anymore. Owen sent a message to the colony xenobiologist describing what he'd found. The response came back within an hour. Official policy was clear. Return the hatchling to the nearest dragon nesting site immediately. Do not attempt to raise it. Do not form attachments. Owen read the message 3 times, then deleted it. He looked at Rin sleeping peacefully for the first time since hatching. The little dragon's breathing had steadied. Color was returning to its scales. "I'll take you back tomorrow," Owen said. "I promise. Just let you get strong enough to survive one more day." But when tomorrow came, Rin followed him everywhere around the station on unsteady legs. When Owen tried to leave the room, the hatchling cried out in distress. When he returned, Rin climbed up his leg and settled on his shoulder. Owen contacted the xenobiologist again. The woman's face appeared on his screen looking concerned. "Fletcher, you need to return that hatchling now. Every hour you wait makes this worse." "I tried to find the nesting ground. It's abandoned. The whole area is empty." "Then bring it to us. We have facilities." "Will it survive there?" The woman hesitated. "Honestly, probably not. Dragon hatchlings need constant care and bonding. The rejected ones rarely make it even with intervention." Owen felt Rin's small weight on his shoulder. "What if I keep it here?" "You can't. You're not trained. You're not equipped. And most importantly, you just became that dragon's family. There's no going back from that. Do you understand what you're suggesting?" Owen understood perfectly. He was suggesting he break every rule. He was suggesting he raise a creature that could grow large enough to swallow him whole. He was suggesting he blur the careful lines that kept 2 species from conflict. "Yeah," he said, "I understand." He ended the call. Rin chirped softly and rubbed against his neck. Outside, the volcanic highlands stretched toward the mountains where dragons flew in formations against the setting sun. Somewhere up there was Rin's birth family. Somewhere up there was the twin who had been strong enough to survive. But here in this small station, Owen made a choice. He chose the small creature who had imprinted on him. He chose to care for something abandoned. He chose to become family for someone who had none. He just hoped they'd both survive what came next. 3 months changed everything. Rin had grown from the size of Owen's forearm to the size of a large dog. The copper scales had deepened to a rich bronze that caught the light beautifully. The smaller wing had developed enough that Rin could glide short distances, though true flight remained impossible. Owen had modified the station to accommodate his unusual roommate. The spare room became Rin's sleeping space, filled with heated rocks and soft materials for nesting. The main area now had reinforced furniture after Rin accidentally broke 2 chairs learning to control increasing strength. The bond between them had grown stronger than Owen ever imagined possible. Rin understood human speech, responding to dozens of commands and even some complex instructions. When Owen worked on equipment repairs, Rin watched intently and often handed him the right tool before being asked. It was uncanny. But it couldn't last. Owen knew that from the beginning. The first official complaint came from a survey team that spotted Rin outside the station. Then another from a cargo pilot who saw dragon and human together in the lava fields. By the third complaint, Colony Administrator David Brooks contacted Owen directly. Brooks appeared on the screen with his usual stern expression. "Fletcher, I've received multiple reports about your unauthorized dragon. This needs to end." "Rin isn't unauthorized. I filed all the proper paperwork," Owen said. "Paperwork for temporary care of an injured native creature, not for permanent adoption of a potentially dangerous predator." Rin lifted their head at the word dangerous and huffed out a small smoke ring. Owen had discovered that Rin couldn't breathe fire yet but could produce smoke when irritated. Rin isn't dangerous. We've been living together peacefully for 3 months. Brooks leaned forward. It's not about peace, Fletcher. It's about maintaining boundaries. Dragons and humans have treaties precisely because we respect each other's space. What you're doing undermines decades of careful diplomacy. I'm raising an abandoned child, that's all. You're creating a hybrid situation that neither species wants. Surrender the dragon to our xenobiological facility. They'll provide proper care. Owen felt his chest tighten. Proper care means what? Keeping Rin in a cage, studying like a specimen. It means acknowledging that you're a mining technician, not a xenobiologist. It means understanding that this creature will grow to be 12 feet tall and capable of melting steel with its breath. What happens then, Fletcher? The call ended badly. Brooks gave Owen 1 week to comply. After that, colony security would remove Rin by force if necessary. Owen sat on the floor next to Rin and ran his hand along the dragon's neck. Rin made a contented rumbling sound and pressed closer. "I won't let them take you," Owen whispered. "We'll figure something out." But figuring something out proved difficult. Owen spent his evenings researching dragon law and human-alien custody precedents. There weren't many. Most cases involved simple pets or livestock, not sentient creatures from species with their own governments. Rin seemed to sense Owen's stress. The dragon stayed closer than usual, following him from room to room. At night, Rin slept pressed against Owen's bed instead of in the designated sleeping space. On the 4th day, disaster struck in an unexpected way. A minor earthquake caused a cave-in near the eastern monitoring tunnel. Owen rushed to check the damage and found the main power conduit crushed under fallen rock. Without it, the entire station would lose heat within hours. In the volcanic highlands, that meant freezing temperatures by nightfall. Owen stared at the problem. The conduit was buried under 3 tons of stone. Moving it would take equipment he didn't have and time he couldn't spare. He could call for help from the colony, but that would bring Brooks and probably a security team to remove Rin. Rin pushed past him into the tunnel and examined the rocks. The dragon made a questioning chirp. "I need to move these boulders to reach the conduit," Owen explained, not expecting much. "But they're too heavy." Rin studied the rockfall for a long moment. Then the dragon did something that left Owen speechless. Rin began moving the smaller rocks first, clearing a path to the largest boulder. Then Rin braced against the big stone and pushed. Muscles strained under bronze scales. The boulder shifted slightly. "Wait, you'll hurt yourself," Owen said. But Rin had already figured out the solution. The dragon used leverage, wedging smaller rocks under the boulder to create fulcrum points. Push, adjust, push again. It was problem-solving that went beyond instinct. It was intelligence. Together they worked for 2 hours. Owen guided and Rin provided the strength. When they finally uncovered the conduit, Owen could make the repairs. Power restored. Crisis averted. Owen sat in the tunnel afterward, covered in dust and exhausted. Rin collapsed next to him, breathing hard from the effort. "You saved us," Owen said. "You understood what needed to happen and you solved it. That's not just animal instinct. That's thinking." Rin's golden eyes met his and Owen saw something there he'd been refusing to acknowledge. This wasn't just a clever pet. This was a person. A young person still learning, but definitely a person with thoughts and feelings and the capacity for reasoning. The realization made what happened next even more terrifying. 2 days later, a shadow passed over the station. Owen stepped outside and looked up to see a dragon circling overhead. Not just any dragon. This one was massive, easily 40 feet long with copper scales that matched Rin's coloring. The dragon landed 100 meters from the station with an impact that shook the ground. Rin emerged from the doorway and froze. A sound came from the young dragon's throat, something between a whimper and a cry of recognition. Owen's blood ran cold. He knew what he was looking at. Rin's mother had finally found her lost child, and from the way she stared at Owen with eyes that burned with fury, she didn't see a rescuer. She saw a human who had stolen her baby. The dragon, Kessa as Owen would later learn her name, opened her jaws and roared. The sound rattled Owen's bones and sent equipment crashing inside the station. Rin pressed close to Owen's leg, trembling. "It's okay," Owen said, though his voice shook. "She's your mother, she came for you." But when Rin didn't move toward Kessa, when the young dragon instead stayed protectively near Owen, something shifted in the massive dragon's expression. Confusion mixed with rage. She called out to Rin in the dragon language, a series of clicks and rumbles that Owen couldn't understand. Rin responded but didn't move. Kessa's eyes narrowed. She looked at Owen like he was something disgusting. Then she advanced. Owen stood his ground, though every instinct screamed to run. "I saved your child. Rin was dying. I gave warmth and food and care." Kessa didn't understand human speech. She only saw her baby cowering near a human instead of running to her embrace. She saw betrayal. She saw theft. Her jaws opened and heat shimmered in her throat. Owen knew he had seconds before those flames consumed him. Rin jumped in front of Owen before Kessa could release her flames. The young dragon spread wings wide and made a sharp warning sound. Mother and child stared at each other across 10 meters of scorched earth. The message was clear. Rin was protecting Owen. Kessa's confusion turned to something worse. Grief. She made a low keening sound that carried pain Owen could feel in his chest. This wasn't how reunions were supposed to go. This wasn't natural. More dragons arrived within the hour. They circled overhead, dozens of them blocking out the sun. Colony security forces showed up next, vehicles bristling with weapons they'd never had to use before. The standoff had begun. Administrator Brooks arrived with an elderly woman Owen had never met. She walked slowly but with confidence, unafraid of the dragons overhead. Her name was Ruth Hendricks, and she'd spent 40 years studying dragon culture. "Let me talk to them," Ruth said. She carried a small translation device that had taken her decades to develop. Most dragons refused to use it, considering human language beneath them. But desperate times changed minds. Ruth stepped forward and spoke in halting dragon tongue. Kessa's head swung toward her, eyes suspicious. Ruth placed the translator on the ground between them and backed away. After a long moment, Kessa picked it up in one claw and examined it. What followed was an hour of painful communication. Ruth translated while Kessa spoke and Owen listened to his world fall apart. Rin had a twin, a stronger, healthier sibling named Skyer. When the twins were born, the dragons had followed ancient tradition. The strong one was kept. The weak one was left in the wild to return to nature. It wasn't cruelty in their culture. It was balance. One soul split between two bodies could not thrive if both lived. The rockslide during the eruption had scattered the eggs. Kessa thought both twins died when she couldn't find them. She performed mourning rituals and moved on with the flock. Only recently had rumors reached her of a human raising a dragon child. She came to investigate and found her lost baby alive. But now she faced an impossible situation. Rin should have died, that was the natural order. Instead, a human had interfered. Rin was alive but changed, bonded to the wrong species, speaking the wrong language, thinking wrong thoughts. The other dragons debated loudly overhead. Some called Owen a kidnapper. Others called him a fool who doomed Rin to a life of isolation. A few, very few, wondered if perhaps this strange bond meant something new. Ruth translated their arguments. The conservatives say Rin is corrupted beyond saving. The progressives say this proves dragons and humans can coexist more closely. But they all agree on one thing. Rin must choose. Choose what? Owen asked, though he already knew. Return to Dragon Society and reunite with Skyer, or stay with you and be exiled forever from the dragon community. No contact with their own kind. No mate. No place in dragon history. Complete separation. Owen looked at Rin standing between him and Kessa. The young dragon's head kept turning from one to the other, clearly distressed. This wasn't fair to put on someone so young, someone who'd been abandoned once already. I won't make Rin choose, Owen said. If Kessa wants her child back, I won't fight it. Ruth's eyes softened. That's very noble, but I don't think Rin will agree. She was right. When Kessa called to Rin, when she offered a claw for her child to approach, Rin moved toward Owen instead. The young dragon pressed against his leg and made a sound that clearly meant no. Kessa's pain was visible even across species lines. She spoke rapidly, and Ruth translated. She says you've poisoned her child's mind. She says humans always take what isn't theirs. She says this is why the treaty exists, to prevent exactly this kind of theft. I didn't steal anyone, Owen said. Rin was dying and I helped, that's all. Is it? Ruth asked quietly. Did you try very hard to return Rin after those first few days? Did you contact dragon authorities? Or did you let yourself become family because it felt good? The question hit hard. Owen had filed paperwork with human authorities but hadn't tried to reach out to dragons. He told himself it was impossible, that dragons wouldn't listen. But maybe he'd just been selfish. Maybe he'd wanted to keep Rin from the moment those golden eyes opened and looked at him with complete trust. A younger dragon landed near Kessa. This one was larger than Rin but carried the same copper coloring, same eye shape, same wing structure, except this one's wings were perfectly symmetrical. That's Skyer, Ruth said unnecessarily. The siblings stared at each other. Rin took a hesitant step forward. Skyer made a soft sound, welcoming. For a moment Owen thought maybe this would work out. Maybe seeing a biological sibling would awaken something in Rin. Then Skyer looked at Owen and snarled. The young dragon's contempt was obvious. This human had made Skyer's twin weak. This human had stolen what should have died honorably. This human had prevented the proper balance from being restored. Skyer spoke and Ruth translated. You are dragon, act like dragon, leave the soft human and come home. Rin responded in the dragon language, something Owen couldn't understand. But Ruth's expression showed surprise. What did Rin say? Owen asked. Ruth hesitated. Rin said, he is my home. Kessa made that keening sound again. The dragons overhead fell silent. Even Skyer looked shocked. In dragon culture, home wasn't a place. It was family. It was belonging. Rin had just claimed Owen as family. Administrator Brooks stepped forward. We need to resolve this before it becomes violent. I propose a compromise. Rin spends 1 week with the dragon flock, learn their ways, connect with Skyer and Kessa. After 1 week, if Rin still chooses Owen, we respect that choice and work on building new treaties to accommodate this situation. If Rin chooses dragons, Owen lets go peacefully. Kessa considered this through the translator. The other dragons discussed it. Finally, she agreed. 1 week. 7 days for Rin to remember dragon heritage and bond with true family. Owen knelt next to Rin. You should go, meet your brother, know your mother, learn where you came from. Rin pushed against him, resistant. I'll still be here in a week. I promise. But you deserve to know both worlds before you decide. The farewell was harder than Owen expected. Rin kept looking back as Kessa and Skyer led the young dragon toward the mountains. Owen stood outside his station watching until they disappeared into the clouds. Ruth stayed behind and sat on a rock near him. You know Rin might not come back. I know. And you're okay with that. Owen watched the empty sky. I want Rin to be happy. If that means being with other dragons, then that's what should happen. But as he returned to the Too Quiet station that night, Owen couldn't ignore the ache in his chest. He'd gotten attached. He'd let himself love this strange, wonderful creature, and now he had to live with the consequences of that love. 7 days felt like forever. The week crawled by like a wounded creature. Owen threw himself into work, checking monitoring equipment that didn't need checking and repairing systems that weren't broken. Anything to avoid thinking about Rin learning to be a dragon instead of being his friend. Ruth visited on the third day and brought news. The integration isn't going well. Rin can't keep up with the hunting lessons. Too slow, too hesitant. The young dragons are mocking. Skyer is frustrated. Owen's hands tightened on the scanner he was holding. Is Rin okay? Not hurt. Physically fine. Emotionally harder to tell. Dragons don't express feelings the same way we do. Ruth paused. But Kessa is trying. She's patient with Rin in ways that surprise the other dragons. I think she's overcompensating for abandoning the egg. Good, Rin deserves that. Do you want to know what Skyer said yesterday? Owen did and didn't. Tell me. He told Rin, you are dragon, act like one. When Rin struggled to tear apart a practice prey, Skyer demonstrated with brutal efficiency. Then he said, see, this is what we are, stop thinking like them. The words stung even in translation. Owen returned to his work without responding. Ruth left quietly. On the 5th day, Owen broke down and contacted the dragon liaison Ruth had set up. The video feed showed the nesting grounds from a distance. He could see dragons flying in formation, practicing aerial maneuvers. One smaller dragon kept falling behind, struggling with uneven wings. Rin. Owen watched his friend try over and over to match Skyer's perfect loops and rolls. Each attempt ended with Rin tumbling awkwardly through the air. The other young dragons laughed, but Skyer didn't laugh. The stronger twin kept circling back, demonstrating again, encouraging in his way. There was something beautiful in it despite the pain. These were siblings learning each other, blood connections slowly forming into actual relationship. Rin was discovering what it meant to be dragon, to have a twin, to belong to something ancient and powerful. Owen shut off the feed. Good, that's good, he told himself. Rin should have this. The night of the 6th day, Owen couldn't sleep. Tomorrow Rin would make a choice. Tomorrow he'd learn if the last 3 months had been real or just a temporary confusion for a lost child. He walked outside under the stars. The volcanic highlands stretched dark and beautiful toward the mountains where dragons nested. Somewhere up there, Rin was sleeping curled against Skyer and Kessa. A real family, a proper family. Owen had been fooling himself thinking he could replace that. The 7th morning arrived with unusual weather. Storm clouds gathered over the mountains, and the wind carried sounds of dragon calls. Something was happening. Ruth arrived at noon with Brooks and a security escort. They're coming, the whole flock. This is going to be formal. The dragons landed in waves, creating a semicircle around the neutral meeting ground. Kessa came first with Skyer at her side, and between them, looking small and uncertain, was Rin. Owen's heart jumped seeing his friend again. Rin had grown even in just a week. The scales gleamed brighter. The muscles moved with more confidence. This was a dragon, no question. But when those golden eyes found Owen across the distance, something else shone there too. Recognition. Joy. Home. Rin started forward, but Skyer blocked the way. The stronger twin spoke and Ruth translated. Skyer says Rin must announce the choice properly, in dragon way, before both communities. Rin stood in the center of the circle, between the assembled dragons on one side and the small group of humans on the other. The young dragon looked terrified. This was too much pressure for someone so young. Then Rin did something unexpected, something that made every dragon fall silent and every human lean forward. Rin spoke in both languages, first in dragon tongue, then in human words. I am Rin, born of Kessa, twin to Skyer, dragon blood, dragon bone, dragon heart. A pause. I am Rin, saved by Owen, taught by Owen, protected by Owen, human friend, human family, human heart. Ruth's eyes widened. Oh, this is unprecedented. Rin continued. I do not choose dragon or human, I choose both. I choose Skyer and Owen, I choose sky and ground. I choose fire and warmth, I am both. I am bridge. The dragons erupted in angry clicks and roars. The conservatives shouted that this was impossible. You couldn't be both. You couldn't serve two worlds. The balance would shatter. But some of the younger dragons looked thoughtful, and Kessa, watching her child stand firm despite the anger, looked something else entirely. Proud. Skyer stepped forward and spoke directly to Rin. Ruth translated, her voice shaking slightly. Skyer says, you are weak, you are confused, you are wrong. This will bring pain to everyone. Rin met the stronger twins' gaze and responded. Owen didn't need translation to understand the emotion in it. Determination, love, hope. Ruth translated Rin's response. I am strong enough to love two families. I am clear enough to see both worlds. I am right that family is choice. This will bring something new, something better. The silence that followed felt heavy with possibility. Then something shifted. A young dragon from the back of the flock flew forward and landed near Rin. She spoke and Ruth translated. My name is Vera. I would learn from this bridge. I would understand humans better. Another dragon followed, an older male named Torch. I raised a human child once when its parents died in mining accident. I returned it to colony. I never stopped wondering if I did right thing. I would hear more about choosing both. Brooks looked panicked. This could complicate everything. The treaties aren't designed for integration. But Ruth was smiling. The treaties were designed by people who never imagined friendship. Maybe it's time for new treaties. Kessa approached Owen for the first time. She looked at him with those massive eyes and spoke through the translator. You saved my child when I failed. You gave love when I gave abandonment. You showed me that strength is not only in wings and fire, it is also in kindness. She paused. I do not understand human-dragon bond, but I see it as real. I see my child happy. I ask that you share Rin with me. Teach me what you know. Let me teach what I know. Owen felt tears on his face and didn't care who saw. I'd be honored. Skyer made a disgusted sound and flew away. Several conservative dragons followed him, but many stayed, and the ones who stayed looked at Rin with new eyes. The meeting ended with an agreement. Rin would split time between Owen's station and the dragon nesting grounds. A cultural exchange program would begin with volunteers from both species. New protocols would be written for interaction. It was messy, it was complicated, it was imperfect, but it was a start. When the formal proceedings ended, Rin bounded over to Owen and nearly knocked him down with enthusiasm. The dragon made happy chirping sounds and pressed close. I missed you too, Owen said, laughing and crying at once. Kessa approached more slowly. I would visit, learn human ways of caring for dragon child, share dragon ways is acceptable. Very acceptable. That night Owen sat outside his station with Rin curled beside him like old times. But now Kessa rested nearby, massive and protective. In the distance, several dragons had landed near human settlements for the first time ever. Some humans approached with scientific equipment, others with simple curiosity. Change was happening, frightening, wonderful change. And at the center of it all was one small dragon who refused to choose, who insisted that love didn't have limits, who proved that family could cross any boundary if you were brave enough to try. Owen looked at Rin. You started something big. Rin's eyes gleamed with contentment. The young dragon had both worlds now, both families, both homes, and somehow, impossibly, it was working. 2 months after Rin's declaration, the world looked different. Dragons visited human settlements openly, curious about technology and buildings. Humans traveled to the nesting grounds with offerings of food and knowledge. The careful distance between species was closing. But not everyone celebrated. Skyer had withdrawn completely. The stronger twin refused to visit Owen's station and barely acknowledged Rin during family gatherings at the Dragon grounds. The rejection hurt Rin deeply. Owen could see it in the way his friend's eyes followed Skyer during flights, hopping for recognition that never came. "Give him time," Kessa said one evening. She'd gotten better at using the translator and sometimes visited Owen's station for what she called parent meetings. They'd discuss Rin's progress like any divorced couple raising a child together. "It's been 2 months," Owen said. "Skyer acts like Rin doesn't exist." Skyer feels replaced. Twins are supposed to be everything to each other. You took that from him. "I didn't mean to." Kessa's massive head tilted. Intentions matter little to hurt feelings. He will come around or he won't. We cannot force brotherhood. The next crisis came from an unexpected direction. A corporate mining vessel appeared in orbit broadcasting legal claims to Terravine's volcanic highlands. The company was called Hellion Extraction, and they had documents dating back to early colony charters. Brooks called an emergency meeting with both human and dragon representatives. The Hellion representative, a cold woman named Director Halstead, appeared on screen and delivered the news without emotion. Hellion Corporation owns mineral rights to the volcanic region. We're prepared to begin extraction operations in 30 days. All non-essential personnel and creatures must evacuate the area. Ruth stood up angry. Those highlands contain dragon nesting grounds. You can't just remove sacred sites. "We can and we will. Our legal team has reviewed all treaties. Nothing prohibits mining operations in unclaimed territories." "The dragons claim it," Owen said. Halstead smiled without warmth. "Dragons are not recognized as a sovereign government by Galactic Council. They have no legal standing. If you want to protect their interests, file formal protests. We'll review them in 6 to 8 months. Meanwhile, excavation begins in 30 days. The screen went dark. The room erupted in shouting. Dragons roared outside, having heard through translators. The situation was deteriorating fast. Kessa looked at Owen with something like fear in her eyes. "They will destroy our eggs, centuries of nesting sites. Gone." "We'll stop them," Owen promised, though he had no idea how. Over the next week, both communities tried everything. Legal challenges that got buried in bureaucracy, protests that Hellion ignored, direct communication attempts that went unanswered. The corporation had money, lawyers, and no conscience. Ruth worked night and day researching legal precedents. Brooks contacted every political ally he had. The dragons performed traditional ceremonies meant to ward off threats. Nothing worked. On day 23, Skyer appeared at Owen's station for the first time since the choosing ceremony. Rin was visiting the human settlement with Vera and some other young dragons, so it was just Owen and the hostile twin. "I need your help," Skyer said through the translator he'd reluctantly brought. Owen gestured for him to continue. "What can I do?" "Stop them, the corporation. You are human. You understand human greed. Tell me how to fight it." "I'm trying, we all are, but they have legal authority and we don't." Skyer's tail lashed in frustration. "Then we fight with fire, drive them away." "That would start a war. Humans have weapons that could kill every dragon on this planet. Violence isn't the answer." "Then what is?" Skyer's pain broke through his anger. "They will crush our eggs, destroy our history, take what we cannot replace. How do humans fight humans when humans only understand power?" Owen sat down heavily. "Sometimes we don't. Sometimes the big corporations win because the system is built for them." "Unacceptable." "I agree, but I don't know what else to do." Skyer looked at Owen for a long moment. "My twin chose you. Rin sees something in humans that I do not see. Prove me wrong. Show me that humans can be more than thieves and destroyers." He left before Owen could respond. The challenge hung in the air like smoke. That night, Owen couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Skyer's question. How do you fight a system designed to favor the powerful? How do you protect the vulnerable when law isn't on your side? An idea came around midnight. Dangerous, potentially illegal, but possible. He called Ruth first. Can you get me contact information for every major news outlet in this sector? Why? Because Hellion is betting nobody cares about dragons enough to stop them. Let's prove them wrong. Within 48 hours, Owen had coordinated the biggest media event Terravine had ever seen. Journalists from 12 different planets arrived to witness something unprecedented. Dragons and humans standing together. Families formed across species lines. A new kind of community that represented everything good about galactic cooperation. Owen invited them all to the Highlands. Kessa arranged for the dragon elders to speak. Rin, with Vera translating, gave an interview about being raised by humans and dragons, about having two families, about love crossing boundaries. The story went viral across multiple systems. Images of Owen standing with Kessa, with Rin pressed against both of them, became iconic. The headline read, "Corporate Greed versus Cross-Species Family. Who wins?" Public opinion shifted dramatically. Suddenly, Hellion wasn't a legitimate business protecting their rights. They were villains trying to destroy something beautiful for profit. Protests erupted on their home worlds. Shareholders demanded explanations. Politicians who'd ignored the situation suddenly cared very much. Director Halstead called a press conference looking furious. "This is a manufactured crisis. We have every legal right to proceed." A reporter challenged her. "You have the right, but do you have the moral authority? Are profits worth destroying what these people have built?" The question echoed everywhere. Hellion's stock price dropped 15% in 2 days. On day 29, the Galactic Council announced an emergency session to discuss Terravine's situation. A special investigator would review the case and make recommendations. All mining operations were suspended pending review. It wasn't a victory, not yet, but it was time. Time to build a real case. Time to formalize dragon rights. Time to create new laws that protected both species. Brooks was ecstatic. Ruth cried with relief. The dragons performed celebration flights that lit up the sky with fire. But the moment Owen remembered most came 2 days later. Skyer landed at his station again. This time Rin was home, and the twins faced each other with months of tension between them. Skyer spoke first. "I was wrong about humans. Some of you are worth knowing." Rin bounded forward and pressed against Skyer's side. The stronger twin didn't pull away. "You are still weak," Skyer said. "Your wings are still uneven. Your fire is still pathetic." Rin chirped happily. Understanding this was Skyer's version of affection. "But you are my twin, my brother. And your human is also my brother now, because family is not only blood, it is also choice." Owen felt something warm bloom in his chest. "Does this mean you'll visit more?" Skyer snorted smoke. "Someone must teach Rin proper dragon ways. You have made my twins soft and strange. It is my responsibility to fix this." "Good luck with that," Owen said, smiling. The three of them sat outside as the sun set. 2 brothers by blood, 1 brother by choice. A family that shouldn't exist but did. A bridge between worlds that was getting stronger every day. The fight with Hellion wasn't over. New challenges would come, but for now they had each other, and that was enough. The Galactic Council hearing took place 3 months after Hellion's suspension. Owen found himself in an orbital station facing judges from 7 different species. Kessa came too, along with 12 other dragon elders. Rin and Skyer stayed on the surface but watched via live feed. Director Halstead arrived with a team of lawyers and endless documentation proving Hellion's legal claim. She looked confident. She had reason to be. Corporate rights usually won against cultural concerns. The judges reviewed evidence for 6 hours. Mining contracts, treaty language, territorial surveys. Everything favored Hellion until Ruth stood to present the final argument. "This isn't about legal technicalities," she said. "This is about whether we recognize intelligence and culture when it doesn't look like ours. Dragons are not animals to be displaced. They are people with history, language, and rights. The only reason they're not recognized as a sovereign government is because nobody bothered to ask them if they wanted to be one." One of the judges, a crystalline being from Sector 9, leaned forward. "Are the dragons requesting formal recognition?" Kessa rose to her full height. Her voice through the translator filled the chamber. "We are dragon. We do not need human words to make us real. We do not need your governments to make us worthy. But if recognition means protection, if it means our children are safe, then yes, we request it." The judges deliberated for 2 days. When they returned, the lead judge spoke carefully. "Hellion Corporation's claim is technically valid. However, circumstances have changed. The dragon population of Terravine is hereby recognized as a sovereign indigenous people with full rights to their ancestral territories. All mining claims in the volcanic highlands are voided. Hellion will receive compensation for lost investments, but cannot proceed with extraction." Halstead exploded. "This is outrageous. You're rewriting decades of precedent because of some feel-good story about a pet dragon." The judge's expression hardened. "We're correcting a mistake. We should have recognized dragon sentience from the beginning. Better late than never. This court is adjourned." Victory felt surreal. Owen, Kessa, and Ruth stood in the observation deck watching Terravine rotate below. Somewhere down there, 2 dragon brothers were probably fighting playfully, while Vera and the other young dragons learned human games from colony children. "We did it," Owen said. "You did it," Kessa corrected. "You saved my child twice, once from death, once from meaningless isolation. You built bridge that saved all of us." "Rin built the bridge. I just walked across it." They returned home as heroes. Both communities celebrated together. Dragons performed aerial displays while humans set off fireworks. For the first time in Terravine's history, the boundary between species felt like a doorway instead of a wall. But even celebrations come with complications. As the party wound down, Owen noticed Skyer sitting alone on a ridge overlooking the festivities. The stronger twin watched his brother playing with human children, teaching them to make smoke rings. Owen climbed up to sit beside him, not enjoying the party. "It is loud, chaotic, strange." "Yeah, humans are good at strange." They sat in silence for a while. Finally Skyer spoke. "I hated you." "I know. I thought you stole my twin. I thought you made Rin weak and confused. I thought human love was false love." "And now?" Skyer's golden eyes met Owen's. "Now I think maybe there are different kinds of strength. Maybe Rin is not weak. Maybe Rin is braver than me. It takes courage to love someone different, to trust someone foreign, to build instead of destroy." "That's very wise." "I am still learning, but I want you to know something." Skyer's voice grew serious. "You are pack now. When dragons say this, it is forever. If you are in danger, I come. If you need help, I help. If someone threatens you, they threaten me. This is bond." Owen felt the weight of that promise. "Thank you, that means everything." "Do not make it sentimental. I am dragon. We do not do sentimental." Owen smiled. "Of course not." They rejoined the celebration. Rin spotted them together and let out a joyful roar that made everyone laugh. The young dragon bounded over and pressed against both of them. "My family," Rin announced to anyone listening. "My brother, my other brother, my mother, my human friends, my dragon friends, all family." The months that followed brought new normals. Owen expanded his station to accommodate frequent dragon visitors. Dragons built landing platforms near human settlements. Mixed language schools started where dragon young and human children learned together. Cultural exchange programs flourished. Skyer visited twice a week, often bringing prey to share, and what Owen learned was a dragon bonding ritual. They'd sit outside and Skyer would tell stories about dragon history, while Owen told stories about human exploration. Rin would translate and add commentary that usually made both brothers laugh. Kessa co-parented with a dedication that humbled Owen. She taught Rin dragon traditions while encouraging the human connections. When Rin struggled with uneven wings, she worked with a human engineer to design exercises that helped. When Rin felt caught between cultures, she reminded her child that bridges belonged everywhere. One evening, 6 months after the council decision, Owen sat outside with both dragon brothers. Rin had grown massive, now 12 feet tall with wings that could carry weight despite their asymmetry. Skyer was larger, more powerful, but he no longer saw Rin as weak, just different. "Remember when I found you in that lava field?" Owen asked Rin. "You were so small, I could hold you in my arms." "I remember being cold, then warm, then loved." "You were loved from the moment you opened your eyes," Owen said. "I just didn't know it yet." Skyer huffed smoke. "Humans are too emotional. This is why you cry at everything. Says the dragon who brought me healing crystal when I was sick last month." "That was practical. Dragons are practical." Rin chirped with laughter. "Skyer also brought extra food and checked on you 5 times. Shut up, weak twin. Shut up, overprotective twin." They bickered like that for another hour while Owen listened contentedly. This was family, not perfect, not simple, but real. A human and 2 dragons who shouldn't have worked but did, who proved that love didn't need to make sense to be true. Above them, the stars of 1,000 worlds glittered. Below them, 2 communities lived together in messy harmony. And between them, 3 brothers sat in comfortable silence, knowing they'd found something rare. They'd found each other. Against odds, against tradition, against expectations, they'd chosen connection. And in choosing it, they'd changed their world. Rin leaned against Owen on one side and Skyer on the other. "What would have happened if you hadn't found me?" Owen thought about the cold egg in the lava field, about the choice to help instead of walk away, about every moment since that had led to this one. "I don't know, but I'm grateful every day that I did." "Me too," Rin said softly. "I got 2 brothers, 2 homes, 2 families. I am luckiest dragon ever." Skyer snorted. "You are strangest dragon ever." "Same thing." The night deepened around them. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Dragon youth wanting to attend human universities. Human families wanting to learn dragon flight. Endless complications of integration. But they'd face it together. Because that's what family did. They showed up. They adapted. They loved across differences. And they never ever gave up on each other. Owen looked at his dragon brothers and smiled. He'd walked out into a lava field expecting routine monitoring work. He'd found something infinitely better. He'd found proof that the best families aren't born. They're built one choice at a time, one moment of kindness at a time, one act of courage at a time. And it was worth everything.